Can I start?
Yep.
Perfect. Hello and welcome to A Better Experience for Content Editors. My name is Sascha Eckenberger. I'm a senior UX designer at Unique, based in Zurich, Switzerland, and I'm in the Drupal community for over 8 years now. I'm one of the lead designers of the Drupal design system and Claro, and I'm also the creator of the Chin admin theme. So you can find me at Sascha Ecke on Twitter, Drupal.org, and everything social. And yeah, let's get started. So this is the agenda for today. First, I will talk a bit about the interface, then which modules can help you improving the experience for content editors. Then we have a section where I want to talk about quick wins, things you can easily adapt to your sites and make a huge impact for content editors. What's next for Chin, Claro, and so on. And finally, some key takeaways from this session today. So let's talk about the interface. This is a quote where I came across a lot on the internet, but also in meetups, more front-end oriented meetups, like JS meetups and so on. A lot of people ask me ooh, does it still exist? Referring to Drupal, or it's ugly, or it's complicated, or it looks and feels outdated. But I think in the keynote today, we already showed you that we're on a good path to solve this issue with Claro, as well with an accessibility first theme, as Claro is, and a lot of the things which goes into Claro and beyond the stable release. But today, for the interface, we will focus on the Chin admin theme, which you also heard in the keynote, and how this theme can make an impact for content editors and your overall experience in general. So this is how Chin looks like. As you can see out of the box, it uses quite a different experience, it has a toolbar on the left. We have certain pieces of content, like the filters and the node overview here, like the list of content or on different sections. We have a top section, which has, if you go here, you can see the sidebar, which is highlighted, like the vertical navigation approach. We have sticky actions. So we always have this clear call to actions on each administration interface page. And if we go to the node edit forum, this is basically the heart of the Chin admin theme. So this is the most important part of Chin. And this is also where it most stands out in comparison to all other themes. So as you can see here, we have a top bar, which is a sticky action bar. So the save, preview, published, and all the states content editor needs are always sticky and on hand. So when we did some research and some interviews with content editors, the single most requested feature was that the save and preview button are always on hand. Because if you build, let's say, a page with paragraphs and you have a lot of them with previews, and it's a very long node edit form, and they just want to change some small stuff on the node, they have to scroll down to the end to save it. And that's not really a good UX pattern. Next up, we have this region, this content region, which also looks like a content region, and it's inspired by word processors like Word, Google Docs, and so on. So you have this white paper view in the middle of the screen where all your content belongs. Then we have a sidebar, and this time it also looks like a sidebar. It's attached to the right, and you have all the things you already know from the sidebar in there. It's just visually nicer paired to the end of the screen. So Chin has a lot of settings. I think we hit some boundaries here with providing you with settings. You can change the accent color. So blue is the default, but you can go whatever color you like. So we have a preset of colors which should all be accessible. But if you click on the white at the end, we might want to change that at some point. You can set up your own accent color, to appeal more to your branding, for example. You can also change the focus color, which is like this green outlined line, which you know from Claro, and in Chin you basically can change that if you like to. We also have like an increased contrast mode, like a high contrast mode, which is experimental. This needs a lot of work and a lot of love in the future, but it's also already there as an experimental feature. If you don't like the vertical navigation approach, Chin has it covered. You can also use this more modern horizontal toolbar, which is this single line toolbar, or you could also go with the, I call it legacy toolbar, or like the classic toolbar as you know it, as it is today. So we have like 3 different toolbar options. As mentioned in the keynote, we also have a dark mode. This is also experimental, but it also works quite nicely with a lot of modules already. So there might some bugs, there might some modules which aren't fully supported yet, but I think like a lot of modules work already quite nice with this. Now talking about high contrast mode and like the accent color, maybe also like the toolbar options, these are all user preferences, right? So Chin has this a nice feature where you can allow users to override certain settings. So you can set dark mode for your user, but not for the general user. You can set increased contrast for your user, or you can also set another accent color if you don't like blue, or if you just have other requirements. So you can basically override all the settings from Chin for all the different users. So some branding examples, just from some certain projects which are basically like live. So this is a multi-vendor marketplace for safety equipment. And as you can see, the backend is branded, like for the Sopros brand. That was easily done, just like upload the logo to the Chin settings, set the main color or like the main branding color, set the toolbar style, and you're go. You're done. And it already looks quite integrated to their CI/CD with just some simple steps and some clicks in the backend. Let's skip that. So this is another example. As you can see here, we have red as the main color. We have the logo on the top left. And you can even further improve that if you use, for example, the Chin login, which is like a module, which is, or basically like the main goal was if you're running a headless site, to provide the content editors a nice login, and all the Chin settings also apply to this login form. So you have the same logo, you have the same branding colors, and everything appear here. So it's nicely integrated in the whole system. You can download Chin at drupal.org/project/Chin. Yeah, you can already download it and install it. It works already well. You can support the development. You can contribute in the issue queue. Please test it, and please create issues if you found any issues. And if you feel so, you can also buy me a beer and support the work at the other link you see. This is a slide I just added 5 minutes ago because there was a question in the keynote as well. Chin has the problem with paragraphs with the drag handles fixed and backported up to Drupal 8.8. So if you use Chin, you don't need to patch core anymore. Good. Moving to the helpful modules section. So to improve the user experience, and also like keep in mind, this is not a final list. These are just some example modules I usually like to use. So it's rather a small collection of modules and not like a final list. But I think we all agree that the admin toolbar module is a must-have. It provides sub-modules, or it provides sub-menus for like the top-level menu points. It also has like the admin toolbar extras toolbar submodule, which you can enable, which provides you even more sub-menus. And it's just way easier for content editors to navigate through the Drupal UI when they have like sub-items. The next thing is Coffee. Even through the admin toolbar has a quick search feature as well now. I still rely to Coffee most of the time, just because it's very nicely integrated with Chin, and you can quickly search for what you need. So if you're not so familiar with the UI, especially in the beginning, if you onboard new content editors, this can be very handy to find the features you look for. The field group module is also one of the modules which every Drupal site should use. You can group related content together. So you can clean up basically the clutter in the UI. It's a very powerful module. It's very easy to use. And you can chunk basically your content into pieces and make it more appealing to the content editors. So media library. This is already here in core. You just need to enable it. It provides its own widget, which nicely integrates in the whole Drupal UI. And there's basically no need anymore for Media Entity Browser. Dropzone.js. There are a lot of different widgets available. As I like it, especially if you use the patch, which is like on the left side, as you can see, which basically provides content editors a drag and drop functionality in the add or select media overlay. So this is a very nice feature, which was very often required by like our content editors of sites we create for like for companies. So that's definitely something you should check out as well. Layout paragraphs can also enhance, just like it's a field plugin for paragraphs. It's basically the bridge between layout builder and paragraphs. But you can basically build in the normal node edit form your own layouts and have a drag and drop functionality for paragraphs. So it's quite handy, but it's not for all type of users because you need to have like a visual flair to create pages. But if you have those content editors, this can make a very great differentiation. The inline entity form is also quite handy if you need to, if you have like a content type which relates to other content types, or you want to include parts of it or build up relations to other entities. This can make a very powerful differentiation in terms of, like directly inline editing other nodes or other content pieces. Well, that leads to the entity browser, which has also like a preview functionality. Instead of just using like a normal reference field, this can also make a visual differentiation, and you can also style it nicely so that, for example, like person teaser look nice in the backend, and you can already see that it's a person you're referencing to, or what, like every other content type. And of course, Chin login, just as a supplemental module, just for this seamless experience. And as I mentioned before, if you don't plan to use the login in the front end for like the customers' users, if you have a headless site, then this module provides you a very nice login and integrates nicely with Chin. The newest addition to this list was Chin Layout Builder, Chin LB, this module. So this helps with integrating the layout builder nicely within Chin, and like also that it works with all the customization options of Chin. You can check that out at Chin_LB. Here are some more helpful modules. Autosave is a very good feature, which helps also like this anxiety of searching the save button. Content lock is one of one good example, responsive preview. If you have a, you know, like a driven environment where you want to have like a responsive preview for content you're creating, this is a very nice module as well. If you want to go another route and use Gutenberg instead of paragraphs, then Gutenberg and Chin Gutenberg have you covered. And yeah, as I mentioned before, like this list is just like not the ending. It's just like some modules which are very, very good options to improve your experience. Good. Let's talk about some quick wins. So how can we improve the experience for content editors with the least amount of effort? You know, because small things can make a huge difference sometimes, right? So for example, this is something I come across very often when I see Drupal sites. People don't like to create custom admin views. For example, in the example you can see here, we created a view for persons to list all the the content type persons, that you have an overview of all the persons, and also show a picture, you know, like of each individual, so you can better recognize all the different people which are listed there. This can be implemented very easy in you know, in the view, like in the views section, and can make a very big impact for content editors. I think this is the best quick win you can use, is use Ajax for admin views to just make it more appeal modern, like the whole Drupal interface. You can just check on all admin pages you know, for its views, the use Ajax button, and it instantly feels way more quicker and more interactive for the content editor to use the UI. Group elements together with the field group module. You know, as you can see here, you can use tabs, horizontal tabs, you can use vertical tabs, you can use accordions, field sets, custom elements. You can use all kind of elements with the field group module to group things together, and also to clean up the UI for content editors and make it more appealing to them. Field descriptions. This is a board tool we have, but I often see a lot of fields which might not be you know, like that clear to the content editor what they need to put in. So here we have the metric system, sorry folks, but if you would put the height in meters or centimeters or whatever, you know, like measurement, you wouldn't know that if you don't put like a description, and this leads to the next one, sorry. Also to use like suffix and prefixes for fields. So the content editor really knows what what the system wants for an information from him. So this is really like to get a clear context, what the system expects. For the CK editor, you should use the CK editor CSS feature. So you can provide all the front-end styling for the CK editor in the backend. And without that, you don't have the real, what you see is what you get experience at all. So in your front-end theme, you can use, or you can add these two lines, CK editor underscore style sheets, and add the destination to the style, clear the cache, and then your front-end styles will appear in the WYSIWYG editor, like in the CK editor. If you want to do adjustments or changes to the Chin theme, you can also add like the Chin-custom CSS file. You can place that in your public folder, and so there is basically no need for a sub-theme if you just have some small adjustments you want to do to Chin. If you want to do like template overrides or whatever, then of course you would have to create a sub-theme. But if it's just minor stylings, things you want to add, then basically you can use the Chin custom CSS feature. If your site is using paragraphs, and a lot of sites are, just use the icon feature of paragraphs for content editors. So it's way easier for them to recognize which paragraph they add to a content type if they have like this, like if they have a meaningful icon. Of course, icon needs to be meaningful, otherwise it's just like, you know, an item which doesn't have any meaning, and this is not really a good UI again. But if you have meaningful icons, this can also make a big impact for the user. Use the experimental widget in paragraphs. Especially in Chin, there is this new styling if you use the experimental plugin of paragraphs. So the whole drag and drop experience is a bit different than usual. You can try that out in just switching to the experimental field plugin. And paragraphs previews. So if you set up your content type and your paragraphs field, you can also say to use a preview of the paragraph in the experimental widget. You can inject your own CSS file in the backend and do some styling improvements, and then you already have like a nicely visual overview of different paragraph types in the backend, which is also not a lot of work, but can also make a huge difference. If you use layout paragraphs, the module which we had a look at before, then you basically have like the rendering of the actual paragraph in the backend. So you have the real preview from the front end. As mentioned before, this is really cool, but it also uses a lot of space. So always be aware that it's more effort to implement, and it might not be worth it for everybody, but if you have more visual appealing content editors, it's worth it. I did put together a small repo. So at this URL, you can download a small instance of Drupal 9 running with Gin, and you know, like a lot of the modules you saw and already a bit configured. So you can use that as a reference or as a starting point if you want to have a look at that. So let's have a brief outlook. What's next? So most of this stuff I listed here, you already saw in the keynote, but maybe just as a repetition. This one for sure you didn't saw yet. Chin is currently in an alpha state. Other modules would already have a beta release or maybe an RC release at this state. But we want to make things perfect. So this is the beta 1 roadmap. There are some issues which need review or need work. And yeah, I hope that we can release a beta 1 as soon as possible. Then the most important issue I want to mention that once again is getting Claro stable. Without having Claro stable, we can also not provide Chin as stable because you know, like Chin relies on Claro as a base theme. So getting Claro stable is very important. And also later today, you can help us with you know, with this task to review some open tickets or work on some tickets that we can move on to get Claro stable. The content editor role, also mentioned in the keynote, this is a crucial piece for content editors in the future. So if we have a dedicated role for them, we can also customize some features specifically for content editors, because currently a lot of features are very agnostic to building sites and not managing sites. And this will be a key part of changing that experience for content editors. And of course, the same story here, the content creation menu proposal. If you haven't heard of that or didn't have a look at it, go to this issue. We need feedback on our proposal because this will also be a key part of improving the experience for content editors in the future and making the life easier for them, especially. And yeah, I also created this ticket. Yeah, if we think this should be in core as well as default, there is one issue we would have to need work on to make this happen. But yeah, there is also a ticket for that to make the Ajax for views as default for the admin pages. Good. So let's let's round it up. Like the 3 learnings or key takeaways from this talk from today. I think we cannot say that, like enough, but site building is very crucial. I think the site builder has a very important role in your organization, or like the site builders, depending on the size of your organization, because we have to embrace basically what these people are doing, because the site builder is in charge of building a great user experience for content editors. And the second thing is, don't overdo it. Like, like the modules and grouping elements together is great, but always keep in mind when building a site or when you do site building on your site, like, would you like to use it yourself? Is it something you're proud of and which is very clear to certain person to use it? If you don't know how to use it, then for certain the content editor won't know it either. And as a summary, the experience is king. So a good user experience will help with adoption. So that's why the first point was, like that site builders are crucial, because basically they're also functioning as UX experts at some point. Because if you're building a site which content editors don't like or don't love to edit their content in or managing their content in, the adaption of Drupal will also not take on, because this is very crucial. How you build the sites is how the content editors will perceive Drupal, and also will help in the future with the adaption of Drupal. That's it. Thank you very much. So, any questions?
Thank you, Sasha. There were several questions that people were posting in the Q&A section. I don't know if you can look over in there.
Sure. I'll sort that for popular questions. So Josh, wait, it just changed. So Enrique asked, does the moderation states from the workflow module draft peer review publish be included at the top of the edition form of a note in the CTA region of the form? Currently it stays in the sidebar in the right region, but yeah, this is for sure something we could think on working on. But yeah, as it is, as of now, it's in the sidebar available on the right side. The second question is from Josh. You showed off a custom login page for Chin. Can you also create a default landing page after login, such as I want to tell users about updates, expected downtime, etc.? Currently, that's not possible, no. But we could create a module which basically empowers that feature. Jacob asks, are customizations possible for different environments to serve as another option for environment indicator? Yeah, you could do that with the Chin custom CSS file, as it's in the public folder and not in your, like in your version history, at least currently not. You could provide overrides for environments, but you can also use the environment indicator module, which also helps you, like providing this functionality. Then there is another question. Are there projects out there to blend current disconnect between node add and layout builder? Yeah, as I mentioned, for Claro, there is the Claro_LB module, and for Chin, there is the Chin_LB module, which basically provides to connect the dots between the admin theme and layout builder. But as mentioned in the keynote, this might change over time as, like first in Claro, we will improve how layout builder is integrated, and next up will be Chin as well. So the next question is, do I need to do anything to get Chin to support layout paragraphs? I just tried it, and my content paragraphs are no longer nesting underneath the layout paragraphs. No, you can, or the only thing you need is to configure layout paragraphs, the module itself. You can have free floating paragraphs. You can have paragraphs in like in layouts. But from a Chin perspective, there is no, or like zero configuration needed. There's so many questions. So
I would just keep on going. If they chop the video, they do, but hopefully we can get some extra in.
All right. Key difference between Chin and Claro. That's a good question. So the difference is Chin is a contrib project, like everybody can contrib to, like Claro is in core, of course. But Chin, like the main goal of Chin is to improve like the experience around content editing. And but also Chin provides or serves as an ideation platform for Claro as well. Just because of persons are interconnected between these two projects. Chin is based on the foundation of Claro, and we already backported some of the features from Chin back to Claro as well. So there is always discussions about things we want or might want to include in the future in Claro as well. But Chin might just be at the edge when it comes to features, of course. There is another question. Do you have good code example with layout paragraphs? I wasn't able to make it work properly. I see it usable for simpler use cases only. And no asynchronous translations. Yes, asynchronous translations are is basically like an open ticket for that in the issue queue for layout paragraphs. But I can also provide you with, like the basic configuration of layout paragraphs in the, like in the repo, which I shared like the link to. So this demo repo, I can quickly set that up and, like update the repo so you have an example. Chin only works with Drupal 9. No, Chin works with Drupal 8.8 onwards. So it's feature complete from Drupal 8.8 until 9.2. So yeah, Drupal 8.8 and newer is available. Does Chin works with Site Studio CMS? To be honest, I don't know Site Studio CMS, so I cannot tell you for that question, sorry. Good. Do you recommend any distributions that combine Chin and some of these modules and configuration out of the box? There are a lot of distributions which are currently working to integrate Chin. So the first distribution was Open Social to adapt Chin. There was also the first sponsor of the project, which helps the project going on. I know that there are a lot of other distributions currently evaluating to use Chin as their default backend theme. And yeah, but I cannot recommend you any distribution because it depends on your use case, right? Distributions always have like a different use case, and depending on that, you will choose your distribution. Good. Do we have other questions? Does Chin login integrate well with TFA module? It should, but give it a try, and if it doesn't, then create an issue in the Chin login issue queue. Are all these examples and tools for Drupal 8 and 9? Yes, like all the modules I showed should be compatible with Drupal 8 and 9. So, which also will help you with upgrading from 8 to 9 if you would, like to start using one or the other module. So yeah, that should also be possible. What percentage of Claro goes into Chin? That's a very good question. The other way around, how many percentage of Chin goes into Claro would also be a nice question. But yeah, so like the whole foundation, as I mentioned, is based on Claro. It's also based on the same design system, right? Because you know, that's quite obvious. But just like the whole layout and the approach of having the different toolbars and so on is quite different from Chin to Claro. Especially if you're in the node edit forum, you will recognize it constantly that we're talking about something completely different here. But you will always see that, you know, like Chin comes from Claro or inherits a lot of the styling, like the focus ring on content elements, a lot of the accessibility improvements, and so on. So they're quite interconnected at this point. Good. I hope I didn't forget any question. Otherwise, maybe just write it in the chat quickly, so I can maybe also answer a question from there. And if there aren't any questions anymore, then I want to thank you again that you joined this session. And yeah, if you have further questions, you can also ping me on the Drupal chat or on Twitter or Drupal.org, of course.
And thank you, Sasha. I think you fit quite a bit in there. Good job.
Cool. Thanks a lot.